Chris Carlin of SNY with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Chris, right off the top, man, who's better, Yankees or Mets?
Well, I think the Mets are the better team at the moment just because I think they're just constructed better. The Yankees obviously have been beat up by some injuries that have hurt them along the way. They're slumping a bit offensively. The answer to that could change next week, but I think at the moment, the way the Mets are constructed from the starting pitching to the additions they made at the trade deadline, all the way around, just constructed a little bit better than the Yankees.
Is it more fun to cover these teams, to cover the baseball teams in New York when they're both winning?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, look, everybody's energy's up. Fans are into it. And that to me is what really gets it going. Not just that they're both winning, but the fans are very into their teams right now. And you guys know, I mean, that's what really drives it for guys like us, is that, it's all about the energy of the people that are listening, that are watching, that really get you excited. And there's no question that when these teams are playing better, that there's an awful lot more to it for us.
Tom Goslowski filling in for Levack today. And Chris, like myself, you are a Hobart College graduate.
Oh, boy.
And I'm hoping you can help me answer this question using that great Hobart College education.
Oh, man.
Is Jacoby Ellsbury the player that needs to play the best for the Yankees to win the AL East?
Well, first of all, I'm not boasting about the Hobart degree too much. I would say, I think it's important. There's no question. But the Yankees are where they are because of what they've gotten from A-Rod and Mark Teixeira. A-Rod's in a slump. Mark Teixeira has been banged up and just got back in the lineup yesterday. To me, it's those two. And I know that Ellsbury and Gardner have done a great job for the most part this season in kind of setting the table. Other problem, though, is that, they haven't performed as well in the second half. They've been slumping, both of them at times. I really, though, point to the two big guys in the lineup because at the beginning of the year, we didn't really expect those guys to do what they've been doing. I think a lot of us thought that, Teixeira probably going to get hurt for a lot of the year because that's what seems to happen, and you had no idea what to expect from A-Rod. I think that without those two guys, the Yankees were a middle-of-the-road team, possibly trending toward what we saw in the late 80s. Now they're not because those two guys have done what they've done. To me, it's those two in particular.
SNY's Chris Carlin with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. You see him on Loudmouths, 5:30 weekday evenings on SNY, and I watch him every single night on SNY Sports Night, my favorite show to watch when I'm at home. The kids are asleep. I get caught up on all of my sports. And Chris, one of the things you guys talked about last night was CC Sabathia. How confident should we be with his role coming out of the bullpen in the future if that pans out?
Not very. I think the issue with CC is that we're on the other side here, and there is still an easy $50 million to be made for Sabathia over the next 2 years. Look, I hate to put it this way. I think the Yankees are better off if he doesn't come back because it eliminates a lot of issues. It eliminates the question of who's going to leave the rotation. It eliminates the embarrassment for CC of having to leave the rotation. And then if you're putting him in the bullpen, what are you really going to get from him? It's not a role he's ever been in before. I just don't think he's the same pitcher at this point, whether it's the knee, whether it's whatever. I don't think anybody ever questions his desire to contribute, to win, what he meant to the Yankees when they won in 2009. But I think at this point, Sabathia's career is really approaching its end, and possibly the biggest issue for the Yankees is that, as long as he does not end the season next year on the disabled list with a shoulder injury, specifically shoulder injury, his option vests for 2017, and that's another $25 million. So it's funny, as it turns out, A-Rod's contract may not be the albatross. More likely it's going to be Sabathia's.
Was it over the top to retire the numbers of Posada and Pettitte?
Oh, no question. I mean, enough. Look, to me, for any team, but specifically for the Yankees, that when you do something like that, it has to be for the elite of the elite. Posada was a very good player. Andy Pettitte was a very good pitcher. And I know everybody points to all the big games that Pettitte pitched. You know, there are plenty of big games that Pettitte pitched that didn't go so well. Think about Game 6 in Arizona when he got lit up. There have been plenty of those where Andy was not sharp. So I can't really go there. And it's not knocking them. Guy won 219 games. Very good pitcher. Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera are the elite of the elite when it comes to the Yankees. Their numbers should be retired. The other two, not so much. I mean, Tino Martinez, for Pete's sake. That happened earlier this year. I can't get past that. And I understand that, you know, there was probably the thought that we didn't get people in this ballpark, and we may not be that good later in the year. You know, there's no doubt that honoring those guys is nice for the fans, but to me it takes away the specialness from what it means to be a Yankee all-time great.
SNY's Chris Carlin with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. This guy is friggin' New York sports. And Chris, yesterday at the Giants facility, Victor Cruz said this about OBJ Saturday against the Jaguars.
You know, from the line, you can see it right from when as you're running your route and you're running the vertical route, and you take a peek at the safety to see where he is before you look at the ball, and you just see him head down trying to spear you. I mean, you can see that from a mile away.
Chris, really, what Victor Cruz says, was it really sad to see? Or the Jags really trying to spear him? Isn't he overblowing this?
Well, what I would say is that I'm kind of with Victor in that you saw in some real specific instances where the Jags were really going after him, specifically from the safety spot when he was running downfield routes. And it wasn't an intent to break up the pass necessarily. It certainly appeared as if there was more of an intent to really let him have it. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. has to learn to deal with that. And Victor Cruz is right. It's frustrating for Cruz not to be out there to help him in that regard, to maybe take some of the pressure off. And I think when Cruz is back out there, that's really going to make the biggest difference. There's no doubt that given everything that's happened, off of his rookie year, off of the Madden cover, off of all the attention that he's got, that there is a target on Odell Beckham Jr.'s back. He's not the first. He's not the last. He'll have to deal with it. But at the same time, somebody else has got to take some of the pressure off him by producing.
Chris, the guy who's going to be throwing the ball to Beckham and Cruz, is Eli Manning, the contract situation going on. Does Eli deserve to be one of the highest paid players in all the NFL?
At the moment, yes. But it doesn't necessarily have to do with the play on the field recently. It has to do with what he's achieved and the fact that he can still be a winning quarterback in the league at a high level.
SNY's Chris Carlin with Armen and Levack. O.C. Umenyiora officially retired as a Giant today. What's your takeaway from his career in New York?
I thought he was a pretty good player. I thought he was at times great, at times benefited from having Michael Strahan on the other side. A guy that got sacks in bunches. And I covered the Giants the night that he got 6 against the Eagles when they ran out there and the tomato can they put out there against him, I can't even remember off the top of my head. I think that O.C. was a very, very good player. Hall of Famer? No. All-time great Giant? No. But a very, very good player for the Giants for a long time.
Jets wide receiver Brandon Marshall says, quote, he's better than he's ever been. Are you tired of Brandon Marshall talking already?
Nope. I like Brandon Marshall. I do. I like what he's about. I like everything that he has done, not only on a personal level, on a charity level as well. I think he's gotten past some of his problems earlier in his career. Certainly it appears to be that way. I think that the biggest question is he may be at his best right now. Who's throwing him the football? I think any of the guys you have on that roster, you can't feel good about. And with that in mind, it's nice to be able to have I'll make a cliche toss or, an analogy that probably doesn't fit. It's nice to have a Ferrari. If you don't have any gas in the tank, you can't do anything with it.
Well, and it's a smooth transition to this. Who's going to be the better team in the AFC this year, the Bills or the Jets?
Oh, boy. I'm having trouble.
Okay, because the quarterback, right, for both.
I will go with the Jets, and the primary reason is this. I've seen the Rex Ryan show up close and personal. I know how it ends. Rex cannot help himself. With that in mind, I'll roll with Todd Bowles, even having not seen him coach a game in the NFL before, other than maybe the couple of games where it didn't matter for the Dolphins. As an interim guy, I do not trust Rex at all. Not in the least.
Chris Carlin of SNY. He's on a show called Loudmouths, man. He brings it 5:30 every single weekday evening. And on SNY Sports Night, I watch every single night after I get Baby Munchie and Baby Ash Money to bed. I turn on Sports Night. It's a great show. Chris, we are your home for New York sports, man. And what you do is New York sports, and we love it, dude. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and I miss being up in Albany for Giants camp.
Yeah, we miss it too. I mean, we went to Giants headquarters the last 2 years. It's kind of boring.
Yeah, I can imagine so, but it was a lot of, I tell you what, great town, and I appreciate you guys calling.
Well, anytime you want to come up here and have a beer, man, it's where we're at. Let us know.
Thank you.